Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. And my name is Stone Rain Productions, but please feel free to call me SRP if you'd like. And today, thought that we would go over some post-rotation decks here. My Friday and Sunday videos. Actually, I'm going to try to focus on rotation decks moving forward. So mostly, I'll probably sprinkle some Eternal format stuff in there as well too. But this deck is going to be post-rotation. And like I said, most decks moving forward are going to also be rotation decks as well. But anyway, this is going to be sets 4, 5, and 6, plus the cards from set 7 and Intro Battle Hoth. Those are all going to be legal. Sorry, I thought I just heard something over there. But anyway, yeah, so let's dive in. Let's take a look and see what we've got. I know FFG has been saying that they want to stay away from hard control, but I think that there's currently enough cards in Premier after rotation that it's going to be viable. When I'm starting off with bases or decks in general, I try to stick with the 30 hit point base to start off with. I think that you probably could switch to Colossus without too much of a problem just because of Dedra's ability. But let's go over everything and take a look and see what we've got here. So we're going to try Dedra Meero hard control, as I said, paired up with the Vigilance 30 hit point base for now. Dedra has an action where you can exhaust her and pay 1, and you choose an enemy unit. Its controller may deal 2 damage to it. If they don't, draw a card. So we're either going to deal 2 damage to a unit, or we're going to draw a card. And either way is good for us. Dedra flips on 4, but we're probably not going to flip her early very often. The backside says that if you control more cards in your hand than your opponent, then she gets +2/+0. She's a 2/5 when she deploys. So just something to be mindful of. I primarily have been using her to take out opposing units, essentially, when I need to. But this deck has... The finishes aren't as good as the normal sets here. I shouldn't say because you don't know. You're watching to find out. But anyway, from when we had set 1 through 3 included with Avengers, stuff like that. So we have to work around that and find new things to work with here. So let's take a look and see what options we've got. Got a little bit creative with some of these. But I still think that this could be viable, considering I don't think there's a lot of really amazing leaders right out of the box. I've been wanting to try Nimble Prowess for quite a long time, and the reason why I'm only going with 1 for right now is because there's not a ton of units in this deck. As we'll go along, you'll see some, but they're still not like a critical mass. You probably could go 2. But really what this is, it's a 1 cost upgrade that gives +1/+1 to our unit, attached to a friendly unit, and when played, you can exhaust a unit in the same unit's arena. So we put this on something, we make our unit just a little bit bigger, and we get to exhaust something. Gets rid of something big. We're primarily focused on the space arena, so that's what that's for, and that's, again, the reason why I decided to go with 1. I'm also going with 2 shoot down in here. 2 cost event, deals 3 damage to a space unit, and if that unit was defeated in this way, you get to deal 2 damage to a base as well. I'm running 2 copies in here as we're primarily a space deck. I figured that this would be a big help, kind of clearing the way for some of the units that we have. Plus, Dedra's ability is dealing damage to units, so if we don't end up defeating something with this, we could potentially finish it off with Dedra. I'm also running 2 copies of Rogue One because it has a similar effect to Inferno 4. It's not nearly as good because the Inferno costs 1 less, but we're still getting a 3/3. And this has got a neat ability where it says when a friendly unit is defeated, we get to look at the top 2 cards of our deck, put any number of them on the bottom of your deck, and the rest on top in any order. So this triggers on any unit that we have that is defeated. So I kind of like it in that aspect. It's not quite as good, like I said, but it's still potentially, if we've got a bunch of units, or we have a bunch to play at the same time, or whatever the case may be. If we've got a bunch of units, when those units are defeated, we get this ability. So it's kind of cool. It's not terrible. So I like the card selection in here. We're also going with 2 copies of TIE Dagger Vanguard, which I think is going to be quite a bit better after rotation. It's a 3 cost 2/2 and just villainy. When played, you may deal 2 damage to a damaged unit. I think it's good. It's not fantastic, but it's good. I think it's good enough, and with Dedra's ability, if our opponent doesn't want us to have the cards, we'll be able to snipe units off pretty easily with this. Knowledge and Defense is for the early plays, giving a unit -2/-2. We'll be able to finish off most things eventually. We have enough things that deal damage, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to whittle things down with that, and it should work. But anyway, 3 cost, give a unit -2/-2 for this phase, and then we get to draw a card. Worst case scenario, we get to cycle this and draw a card. It's not horrible, but again, this is just meant for the early game units anyway. It's not as good against something like a Charisnemic, but we can kill spy tokens all day with this. Let's Call It War is our first foray into something that I really like quite a bit. 3 cost event, deal 3 damage to a unit. Then if you have the initiative, you may deal 2 damage to another unit in the same arena. We want to control the board. This is definitely something that we want to do. We want to have the initiative token anyway, so this is pretty perfect for what we're doing. Now just be mindful here that removal is really diminished quite a bit after rotation so far. We haven't seen all the cards yet. I'm just working on what I have for a lawless time, but there's still some pretty good ones that are coming up. We just haven't seen the full set yet. So at the time of making this, these are the cards that are available for me. I'm also running 3 copies of Piercing Shot. I think that this could go up in value. Again, it's a 3 cost event. Defeat all shield tokens on a unit and then deal 3 damage to that unit. I'm primarily doing this for the 3 damage, but it's cool because we can also get rid of a shield token on something that's being pesky. Speaking of limited control options, I'm running 3 copies of Condemn just because I think that this is the value of this is going to go way up in anything that's trying to be controlling. 3 cost upgrade. While attached unit is attacking, it gains on attack. The defending player may disclose Vigilance Villainy. If they do, this unit gets -6/-0 for this attack and loses all other abilities. So this is a little bit tricky. I've covered this in a different video. The disclose part is what they gain on attack, but it's going to always lose its abilities here. While on attack, the defending player gets to disclose. If they do, this unit gets -6/-0 for this attack, and that's the end of the quotes. But after that, it says and loses all other abilities. So when the unit attacks, it's going to lose all of its other abilities. That's really good. It's nice that it's going to be -6/-0 for the attack as well, too. I put 3 copies of IG 2000 in here, just for the damage. It's also a little bit of overwhelm that we can deal with, but primarily it's for the damage. We want to get damage on stuff, primarily for some later cards as well. But this is a 4 cost 3/4 in space with overwhelm. When played, we get to deal 1 damage to each of up to 3 units. Good way to kind of just finish something off with this, but again, we want to just get damage on units if we can, try to finish them off with Dedra or other cards later. Trying for 2 copies of Charged with Treason here. I was looking at the cost, apologies. It's a 4 cost event. You may disclose aggression. If you do, deal 5 damage to a unit. We're primarily aggression heavy deck, so it's pretty split, but we should be able to get it most of the time here. Good way to just get the 5 damage, and this should take out most things. I'm running 1 copy of Direct Hit. It's a 4 cost event that lets us defeat a vehicle unit. I figured why not try 1 copy of it. I'm also trying 2 copies of Shatterpoint without the Force. This is primarily going to be just the defeat a non-leader unit with 3 or less remaining hit points. We do have something in our sideboard that will allow us to get the force token, so we can do the other mode on this. That's in the sideboard, and that's mostly going to be against aggressive decks, that are very aggressive decks. And we'll go over that when we get to the sideboard. But the force token side is, if you use the force, you get to defeat a non-leader unit, just in general, so it's pretty good. Running 3 copies of No Glory Only Results. Amazing card, as always. It's definitely one of our solid removal options. If you notice, a lot of the decent removal stuff has kind of gone up in value, cost, I should say. 5 cost, 4 cost, it's kind of moved up a little. Out the Airlock is actually a strong consideration now because it's going to give a unit -5/-5 for this phase. So it's definitely something that I wanted to try out here, and so far so good. Top of the Summit is really where we're trying to get to when we deploy our leader. We can plot this or we can just play it. It's deal 3 damage to each damaged unit with plot, and we can get this when we deploy our Dedra, so it's just a good way to get a bunch of damage, or get rid of a bunch of damaged units. Planetary Bombardment, we do have capital ships in our endgame, so we are planning on using this for the full thing, but it's a 6 cost event. Deal 8 indirect damage to a player. If you control a capital ship unit, deal 12 to indirect damage instead. We are going to go over our capital ships very soon, so we'll go over that, but we absolutely can hit for the 12 indirect for sure. Good way to finish the game. Hyperspace Disaster, I'm doing 1 copy. Yes, we are a space deck, but if we're going against something that's very aggressive and we're having a hard time keeping pace, we can Hyperspace Disaster just to get rid of everything and then get our finishers into play. We're doing finisher by committee here. I'm running 2 copies of Devastator, 8 cost, 9/6. You assign all indirect damage you deal to opponents. That's going to come into play with our Planetary Bombardment. And when it's played, you get to deal 4 indirect damage to each opponent. So, ideally, if we want to get our opponent to 4 hit points left on their base, but it doesn't have to be that. We're just going to play this as a big beater in space, and we want to get this into play so we can Planetary Bombardment and just hit our opponent's base all at once. This is attacking for 9. It should hopefully get the job done. This is really one of our backup win conditions, but it's still a win condition, especially if we can get the Planetary Bombardment with it. I'm running a full 3 copies of Lawbringer. I think that this card is just secretly very good. I think it's one of the better ones in Control. In general, probably not, but in a niche environment like Control, I think it's great. It's an 8 cost, 7/7. When played and on attack, choose an aspect. Give each enemy unit with that aspect -2/-2 for this phase. While it's not quite Snoke, it does have some potential for some big blowouts, where if our opposing units are just really weak and are about to be finished off, this does it with the when played. You just pick something like Heroism, or if they're playing Command, you choose Command, and it's, again, just to reiterate here, it says give each enemy unit with that aspect -2/-2. So you can pick something like Vigilance. It's not going to affect our units at all. I am running 3 copies of the new board wipe, Single Reactor Ignition. It's an 8 cost, but it's 3 aspects here, and that's primarily the reason why I'm going with this, is because I want to take advantage of this board wipe. Defeat all units. This one has a nice little upside on it, though. For each enemy unit defeated in this way, we get to deal 1 damage to its controller's base. So again, this is for each enemy unit defeated in this way, deal 1 damage. So let's say we take out 3 things, we get to deal 3 damage to a base and wipe their board. It's pretty cool because we can finish a game with this potentially. And our last finisher here is going to be the Persecutor, 9 cost, 9/7 space. When played and on attack, choose an arena. You may deal 3 damage to each unit in that arena. It's a good way to, especially against ground where we can just wipe everything out in one shot. None of these are as good as, let's say, like an Avenger, but I think with a nice variety especially these two. Lawbringer is going to be the better, but I think Persecutor is also good against ground decks. This can also do some work against space decks, so it can take 2 hits from itself, and then on the third one it would just defeat itself. But I think Lawbringer is the real finisher here. The other two are just kind of secondaries. For our sideboard, we're going with against aggressive decks 2 Eye of Aldani. I really like this, but again, you don't. I mentioned this in another video. You don't really want to play this once you get to your opponent gets to like 6 resources. It just becomes ineffective, really. But anything up to 5, I think it's very good. At the start of each of the next action phase, for each enemy unit, its controller must pay 1 or exhaust that unit. So it really forces your opponent either to exhaust the resources or exhaust their units. Either way we win, or any combination really thereof. Again, for aggressive decks, we're going with Drain Essence. And I mentioned earlier with the Shatter Point that we can sometimes get the Force. This is where we're getting it. It's good early. It's going to deal 2 damage to a unit, and we get the Force token. So we can take care of something pesky and get the Force token for our Shatter Point to upgrade that later on. Getting 1 extra copy of Shootdown. Again, this is for more of space decks. 3 damage to a space unit. If that's defeated, you get to deal 2 damage to a base. Running 2 copies of Crushing Blow. I'm primarily targeting aggressive decks with the sideboard for now. This is really just a placeholder, as I haven't been able to play much with this. The online forum clients haven't allowed you to do that, I believe, until just recently. So just bear that in mind. Crushing Blow is a 3-cost event. It says defeat a non-leader unit that costs 2 or less. I'm going with just 2 copies of this. Really, the idea is you resource, your opponent plays something, you claim, and then when you get your 3 resource, you just Crushing Blow something. Direct Hit is another hedge against space decks primarily, and then we've got 2 other copies of Hyperspace Disaster in the sideboard. So I know it's not nearly as powerful as our current format where we've got sets 1, 2, and 3 involved, but I think that once rotation happens, this is going to be good and viable. So here's hoping. I really like Control. Hope that you guys like it very much. If you can, please like and subscribe as well. It definitely helps me out. And just wanted to say thanks. Hope the new year is going great for you guys. Take care, everybody. May the Force be with you. Be well.